Good morning. My name is Paolo Sonvilla from Creara. I am the project coordinator of the Trust EPC South project. And today, together with my colleague Pedro Espejo, Francisco Javier Lemus from Bureau Veritas Iberia, and Maria Frangu from the Technical University of Crete, we're going to present you an overview of the GREPCON Independent Assessment Service. We will do 3 presentations. And during these presentations, you are free to ask questions using the questions chat. And after the presentations, we will reply to all your questions. If we are not able to answer all the questions during the webinar, we will distribute later, together with the slides, a document answering all the other questions. So thanks again for joining us. Let us start. So, first of all, Trust EPC South as a project tries to solve the problem of the difficulty of language, of speaking between the financial sector, which have money available for financing, but cannot find projects which are good enough to finance, and the energy efficiency service providers and tertiary sector that have a interest to get financing for renovation projects, but are unable to understand each other with banks. The 2 parties speak different languages, and we are trying to help them to speak to each other, doing capacity building activities like this webinar, developing a service that will allow to assess in a standardized and independent way the investments in buildings of the tertiary sector in Europe, and also generating a pipeline of projects. So if we look at the financing of energy efficiency, we have barriers and drivers. The key barriers are the credit risk that of course, when a bank evaluates financing, will look at the overall credit risk of the financier, so the final user or the energy efficiency services provider. We have performance and technical risks, and we have lack of track records. There are not enough standardized investment in this field that give enough confidence to financial institutions to finance. What are the drivers to solve these barriers? Standardization. So the standardization of the investment process and of the type of investments, a robust baselining, so being able to determine in a very precise and standardized way what is the initial situation of the buildings under consideration, reducing the transaction costs, so making the evaluations, the risk assessment easier to perform and cheaper, and have also insurances of other guarantees that can help the investors have more confidence that that these cash flows which are predicted will turn out. Then again, there are decision-making and administrative barriers that are generated when this energy efficiency or any performance contracting service needs to be finalized and underwritten. And in order to solve this, we need clear business cases. So it has to be very clear what are the advantages and what are the benefits generated by these building renovation investment projects. And also we need clear contractual arrangements. So standardization also on the energy efficiency services and the EPC contracts. So what does our project offer? We offer, as I said, a promotion of dialogue between the energy efficiency services offer side and the tertiary sector and the financing side. We offer capacity building on financial solutions and energy performance contracting. And finally, the central product of our work has been the investment assessment and benchmarking service based on the existing green rating methodology that helps to facilitate the financing for small and medium projects, reduces transaction costs, and provides an independent third-party certification. So during today's presentation, we look how this system works. Now, without entering in too much detail, we can show you a video that exemplifies our process, and then we will go.
In Europe, and in particular in the Mediterranean area, there are many buildings used by the tertiary sector. However, at present, the majority of these buildings are old and not energy efficient. Their lighting systems, windows, and heating and water systems are obsolete and therefore not performing well. These factors bring to heightened maintenance costs and lowered rental incomes. Various parties are traditionally interested in these obsolete buildings since they see in them a good investment potential and business opportunity, asset owners or investment managers and financial institutions. However, these actors have to face several problems in order to understand how to evaluate the investment. The asset owners do not have instruments, knowledge, or capacity to perform an efficient and effective first assessment of these buildings. In addition, they have problems in finding appropriate financing or common technical standards to refer to. Finance providers, instead, have difficulties in estimating the technical and performance risks of complex investments in this context. Furthermore, they seem not to be ready to meet the new energy efficiency services market because they consider it not mature enough to be profitable. The solution to all these problems is the Green Rating for Energy Performance Contracts, or GREPCON, a service that provides a standardized and independently verified approach to identification and quantification of energy-saving measures for tertiary sector buildings. This, together with further technical and financial calculations, allows for providing comparable evaluations trusted by the market and financial institutions. The GREPCON methodology and tool provide a standardized process for environmental, technical, and financial data collection, calculations, and risk assessment, an independent and transparent market benchmark, a calculation engine based on the upgraded Green Rating methodology by Bureau Veritas and the Green Rating Alliance, a comprehensive solution integrating all the technical and financial aspects of an energy performance contract. The GREPCON service offers several advantages to all its customers. The asset owners and the financial institutions can benefit from independent certification of projects provided by third parties. In addition, all parties involved are served by one pan-European standardized technical framework. To discover more about GREPCON, the service developed by Trust EPC South Consortium, visit our website and follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Okay, thank you for watching. So let's return quickly to the presentation. So again, what is our approach? First of all, just to recap, this tool and the service that can be offered through the tool allows to assess building energy efficiency renovation projects in the tertiary sector. So we are looking at offices, schools, hotels, hospitals, sports centers, logistics centers. This tool works by looking, first of all, at the technical side of the building. Through a simple visit, the auditor gathers building and equipment technical informations and consumption and costs data. And this part is fed into the bulk of the Green Rating methodology, which existed before our work started, but has been improved and furnished with several standardized technical models of energy efficiency and renewable energy production measures that can be fitted into the buildings which are being examined. So this information allows the tool to automatically identify standardized energy efficiency measures and scenarios that combine these measures. Then we input in the tool also financial data, and thanks to this financial data, the scenarios that have been identified from a technical point of view are assessed from the financial point of view in order to check their profitability and the risks linked to their financing. The financial assessment module, as it will be explained later, allows to examine and to analyze three different financing scenarios, one based on the energy performance contracting financing or ESCO model, one based on a simple client financing scenario in which the client is financed directly by a bank or by a fund, and also a pure equity 100% scenario in which the investment is examined per se without any external financing. Together, this information about the technical information and the financial information are assessed and verified by a quality assurance third party, which in this case is Bureau Veritas, but could be also a different entity, and sealed and provided to the client as a standardized and verified report. This report looks, as I said, provides for risk assessment. So for the scenario which is chosen, best case, worst case, and a base case scenario are considered, and these scenarios evaluated looking at the influence of the different factors on each of the measures which is proposed to be implemented in the building. So it is possible to see the financial indicators in all these three scenarios and evaluate what is the risk if something goes wrong, or what is the advantage if something goes better than expected. And in the end, this investment is rated according to a five letters scale that ranges from high profitability, almost secure investment to a very weak one, allowing the financial institution or the tertiary sector company to appreciate the risk and the advantages of investing in that building or another one. Again, the advantage here, we will apply the same standardized methodology on a building in Denmark or a building in the south of Europe. So the last point, this will be the key of the next webinar that we will organize in a couple of months. How will this work on the market? So our project will end in June 2018, so in a few months. The plan is that after the end of the project, so in the second half of 2018, the tool will be available for use to all those companies or professionals that decide to be accredited for the use of the tool, thanks to a training. These auditors will be able to use the tool, sell the service to their clients at the price they feel is correct. And once they have applied the tool on a certain building, a certain investment, they will pass it to the local quality control body, that can be Bureau Veritas or any other company that is accredited to do so, that will check that the tool has been applied correctly and according to the methodology, will provide a quality certificate in change of a quality assurance fee paid to the auditor, by the auditor to Bureau Veritas. And finally, we return a standardized, verified assessment report to the auditor that will present it to the client. Again, this is our draft exploitation strategy. We are discussing it. All the companies that belong to the consortium are currently discussing this model, so we are very interested also to get any feedback from you about this. and we will present it at a later date. A few words about the project before I pass the word to my colleagues. We started in 2015. It's a Horizon 2020 finance project. We are 10 European partners concentrated in 6 European countries. We have energy efficiency services provider, quality assurance, and other communication bodies. And we have worked together already on this for 3 years. Maria Frango will now present you the example of the application of the tool on one particular building.
My name is Maria Frango. I'm a research associate at the Renewable and Sustainable Energy Systems Lab at the Technical University of Crete. Following Paolo, who spoke previously, I am going to present to you a GrepCon case study, which concerns a hotel in Greece. More particularly, this family resort hotel is located in the island of Crete in Greece, in an urban location, but proximal to the sea. It is a 7 buildings complex with a capacity of 324 beds. It includes additional facilities such as kitchen, restaurant, and swimming pools. The hotel was built in the beginning of the 90s and operates seasonally since then, from May till October. The average occupancy during the period of operation is 84%. It is worth mentioning that the hotel already has an environmental policy in place, and this made it easier to engage it in the project works. You can see here the key steps of the methodology we followed. The first step was to perform a detailed energy audit in the building in order to collect building plans and data about the building envelope, energy and water bills, operational data, and as well to perform an equipment inventory. And during this phase, we had a close cooperation with the owners, and interviews were held for defining priorities, specific needs, and discuss energy-saving interventions with them. In the second phase, we performed a dynamic thermal simulation of the building in order to validate the building construction and details of fabrics used to set up the thermal model. Finally, we applied GrepCon to calculate the energy breakdown, the savings achieved by standardized measures applied, and eventually to perform the financial assessment. The final output we get is a feasibility rating potential for an energy performance contract. You can see here photos from the energy audit performed in the hotel. We collected data on the building envelope, on the cooling systems, domestic hot water systems. You can see here the solar thermal panels used for the hot water, lighting systems, and last but not least, laundry and kitchen facilities. In the second phase, as we mentioned previously, we performed the dynamic thermal simulation of the whole building complex. As you can see here, some pictures. Here we can see the energy balance breakdown, and we can see that kitchen was the main consumption item, taking up more than 50% of the total energy use. The energy sources used in the hotel are electricity, LPG, gas, and solar energy for the hot water. The annual energy cost for the building account to 62,000 euros per year. For this project, 3 technical scenarios were discussed with the hotel owners and were assessed with GrepCon. For each of these technical scenarios, we assessed 2 financial energy performance contract scenarios, and that is a total of 6 scenarios. In financial scenario A, 60% loan and 40% own financing were assumed, whereas in financial scenario B, a percentage for grant was also taken into account. In technical scenario 1, we included all the measures that were identified for the specific building. As you can see, the payback for the thermal insulation of the building envelope was longer, and this made it unfeasible for the energy performance contract. Just an overview of the measures: substitution of conventional lamps, occupancy and presence sensor, the thermal insulation, photovoltaic plant, and substitution of appliances in laundry and kitchen. For the reason that the measure of insulation had a longer payback, we constructed also the technical scenario 2, that includes all the measures except this one. You can see here that this scenario has a simple payback of 4.9 years. However, we do recommend that the hotel considers this measure in the long term, since the thermal insulation can significantly improve indoor environmental conditions for hotels, and which this is an important aspect for this business. A possible public grant may also improve the financial performance of this measure. In technical scenario 3, we excluded also the measure of photovoltaic plant, as there are currently some legal issues with its installation due to the grid limitations in the insular electricity grid of Crete. After assessing all our defined scenarios with GREPCON, we are able to compare them on equal terms and decide which is the most appropriate for implementation. In this case, we selected technical scenario 2, financial scenario A. In the case of a public grant, though, the project indicators can upgrade to those of financial scenario B, which contains also the grant, as I mentioned previously. So, in the next few slides, I'm going to show you indicatively some of the financial assessment output for this particular scenario. This diagram shows the correlation between investment and savings for each measure. It is useful because it shows how efficient a measure can be, comparing with the proportion of investment needed for this measure. So, for instance, we can see that the investment for the photovoltaic plant reaches to 55% of the total investment. However, it also yields 50% of the savings. This shows us that it is a measure that it's worth pursuing. We can also get a lot of useful indicators and diagrams, especially concerning the financial aspects of the project, such as project cash flows, liquidity and solvency ratios, and many more. It is important to note that the assessment includes also a sensitivity analysis, which can provide an estimation of the impact of various technical and economic risks. So we have a base scenario, as we can see here in the diagram, as well as a worst and best scenario. And this gives us a picture of the risks associated with the project, especially important for the financing side. As a final output, we get an overview of the project feasibility indicators and a rating for the energy performance contract potential, as Paolo mentioned previously. For this particular scenario, as you can see, the project rating is B. The rating is from A to E. So, to conclude, the energy saving scenarios and corresponding interventions emerge after interviews and personal discussions with owners to investigate the investment priorities. The assessment allows project actors to compare different scenarios on equal terms, following a standardized approach, and supports their decision making. It is important to mention that the selected scenario can be optimized by fine-tuning the financial parameters, so we can work on our scenario and reach it to an optimum scenario for the financial side. The technical analysis in this case showed that the facility can save up to 36% of its total yearly energy cost, summing up to approximately 22,000 per year. By implementing all the energy saving measures that were proposed in technical scenario 1. The technical scenario 2 presented here corresponds to 34% savings, which sum up to approximately 21,000 euros per year. This scenario results in an 8-year energy performance project with a GREPCON rating of B. Finally, we still have some key issues to overcome in order to secure financing and contract closure, and this concerns the photovoltaic installation, as we have some grid limitations in Crete, and currently we cannot install it. Thank you for your attention. Please feel free to ask your questions in the end or during the presentation, and we will address them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Now, please, Javier, could you activate your sound so we can hear from you?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Javier Lemos from Budovaritas. I'm going to show you the grid control methodology and the outcome. Okay, the first slide is about the grid control definition. Basically, this is a tool that provides a standardized approach to calculation of energy-saving measures. And this, together with further technical calculation, allow for reaching comparable results trusted by the market and financial institution. It's important to remark that the grid tool can assess 7 types of building. Office, retail, logistic, hospitality, healthcare, schools, sport, and leisure centers. Okay, the next slide was presented by Paolo previously, but I want to remark in some points, and that is that basically the grid control is integrated by 2 internet tools. First, the green rating methodology, that is a technical tool, and the financial assessment, that is a financial algorithm that is well communicated with the technical one in order to find the best scenario. It's important to know that the main result of the EPC is assessed and verified by Bureau Veritas. Okay, now the next slide is about the GRA. Why green rating is supporting this tool? Basically, because more than 650 properties are assessed by this approach, including office, logistic, retails, and there are about 20 companies participating in this methodology. Okay, then what is different of this tool with the others in the market? Basically, because it provides a standardized approach to calculation on energy saving measures based on grid rating methodology. There are 47 measures standardized. And then because it's able to calculate the cross effect between the select energy saving measure and their economic impact, because it gives comparable results, because it provides comparability of the project on pan-European scale. In summary, the tool is different because currently there is no tool to standardize energy performance contracting technical calculation, put them all under a common framework and fit them into a fully operational tool. That is the main difference of this tool with others in the market. Okay, the tool approach consists on 4 levels of performance. In two approach related to user, that is the actual. That means the actual performance cover the building and it is with its operation and tenant behavior. However, in the actual behavior of the building, we have a potential actual that is achievable through implementation, operational, and behavioral recommendation. On the other hand, we have the building approach, and we have intrinsic that is related to the building design, equipment, and physical provision, and of course the potential intrinsic that it could be achieved after implementation of the recommendation, so that the tool does is to make some comparison. It found some difference, it create automatically some recommendation. But of course, basically, energy measurements based on standardized calculations. The tool approach is based in 6 key indicators. 4 are quantitative, like energy, carbon, water, and waste, and 2 are qualitative, there is transport and well-being. The process includes a first step, the building input data in the several interface of the tool, and then integration of energy efficiency measures. The tool makes some adjustment to generate the proper energy measure. For instance, the next slide shows interface of the tool. That is the home interface where the user have to introduce all the building basic information. In addition, we have some interface related to occupancy and other data related to the building, and of course we have input data about the installations, I mean boiler, cooling system, and so on. A result, the tool gives us building energy assessment, like energy source, or like next slide is energy breakdown by use. Then with this data, the tool is able to identify the energy efficiency measures. For instance, in this slide, we have the 47 measure that the tool is able to provide. The slide number 17 shows an example of energy measure. In this case, is the number 9 thermostatic valve for radiators. It's important to say that its measure calculation is based on data provided by the auditor. So there is some information to input before to the measure will be approved. Also, the measure can be implemented for the whole or the only part of the respective system. I mean that it could be implemented in only in one floor of the building, according to the auditor experience. And finally, the measure calculation is based on data provided by the auditor in terms of economic impact. I mean, the price of the device or the equipment is a decision of the auditor according to the market. Okay, the slide number 20. There is a list with all the measures that the tool is able to provide. In total, we have 47 measures, 5 of lighting, 20 or heat, ventilation, and air conditioning, 8 for hot water, 6 for renewable energy source, and the rest are for the other requirements or related to improve power factor or electricity in the building. Okay, in the slide 22 we have the reprocess summary and the communication between the tool, the technical tool, with the financial tool. So after measure generation, all the measures are transferred to financial tool in order to start some calculations, and then the interactive financial calculation will give us the best scenario for our PC project. Okay, Slide 23 show the financial assessment interface. This is the project general data input. The auditor should introduce some input data in yellow. There is like macroeconomic variables, some characteristic feature of the EPC. However, there are some input data that is already transferred by the technical tool. Okay, there are three financial tool scenarios in slide 24. Basically, we have the EPC scenario. That is the core of this tool. That, however, we have other two options in order to make some comparison and perhaps a better approach for the particular project. And there is a client financial through a loan. That is a typical case of financing a project through a loan between a client and bank directly. And then, of course, 100 equity, I mean, no financing scenario when the client decides to implement the project through all funds. Then in the slide 25, we have some results that financial scenarios. In this case, is the EPC scenarios. For instance, the main financial indexes, annual cash flows, project solvency, ratings. In slide 26, we have a table with all the financial assessments. In result, we have some tables that is part of the grid control report. Is a technical and economical assessment. In addition, we have some results based on the qualitative assessment from grant rating methodology that includes consumption of water, carbon, and their respective rating. In addition, transport, well-being, and waste, in order to rate the building not only in energy aspect but also in other environmental indicators like the previous show. Okay, and finally, in the report of the grid control, we have all the assessment, including the estimated savings, the estimated investment, and estimated payback. As a result, we have a project rating that is that slide that Paulo showed before, but I have to remark because it's the final result, the main result of the grid control, and is the EPC project rating, and then we have all the information, include not only the technical part but also the financial part, with all the assessment and the project rating leveled in 5 different letters as rate according the profitability of the project. That's all. If you have more questions, this open to debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Javier. As I wrote in the chat, you have a questions chat now, and you can ask your questions. We'll start now with some of the questions that were received during the presentation. So we have some some questions about how the calculations are done in the tool, in particular with the IRR, the internal rate of return. The question is then for Javier. How is the IRR calculated? Is it with OPEX included before or after taxes?
Yes, OPEX is included and is after taxes. Or we use the typical formula of the IR with free cash flow, and it is after taxes.
Okay, thank you. So another question we received from Panagiotis Viogas. Is there an index for choosing the best combination of project recommendations for the best scenario? Okay, perhaps we lost Javier again. Basically the tool proposes to the user a series of scenarios.
Yes, actually we have the letters and the energy savings. So because at the end,
sorry, Javier,
the profitability of the project depend on the we have some rates on water saving, waste and well-being. So that includes all the energy performance of the building.
A new question is about what is the process for certify an auditor. So this is a process we are currently discussing. In practice, there will be a training. So the auditor who wants to be accredited to the user tool will have to be trained by Bureau Veritas. The training lasts more or less 5 working days. Once the auditor has been trained and passes the final exam, it will be accredited for the use of the tool under a series of conditions that we will be releasing to the public very soon, and it will continue to use. So, as I explained before, this will be the object of a second webinar that we will hold in about 2 months. So we will keep you posted, and there will be more details about this question later. So there is a question from Panajota Saru. When will the tool be distributed? In the second half of 2018, we are aiming at, to be confirmed, and the tool will be directed for use in Europe, in any country in Europe. There is a question about the energy efficiency certificates or the energy performance certificates of building, if this tool is compatible with it. This tool is not compatible with any national energy performance certification of a building, which are done in each country according to different regulations, and therefore it was not possible to satisfy them all. However, this tool tries to address this problem in a standardized methodology by using the same methodology in all countries. And this is also the willing of the European Commission, that with the revision of the directive on the energy performance of buildings is aiming at harmonizing across Europe over the next years the energy performance certificates of building and having a single and simplified standard. So, Javier, there is a question about energy simulation of buildings, so thermal simulations. The question is about which tools are used or can be used for the thermal simulation. I can answer partially this question. So we are
the GridCon tool, but basically you can our guide, the GridCon tool guide instructions. We selected 3 simulators.
Javier, can you please repeat? Javier, can you please repeat your answer, because we just started hearing now. Please start again.
Okay. We have a GridCon tool guide with some instruction on simulators. Okay, basically you can use a standardized energy simulator, a commercial ones like Energy Plus, for instance, or in our case we use Pleiades. This is a French firm. But basically you can use any standardized energy simulator. But in our guide there are some suggestions.
Okay, there is a further question by Eleni Vasilaki, if this tool could be used also for building in the residential sector. in the future. I think this could be possible. It has to be evaluated, of course. The idea is that once we release the tool on the market for the accredited auditors, there will be a group of companies managing the development and the update of the tool over the years, and this update will also include extending the tool to different types of buildings in order to meet the request of the market. So I foresee that residential multifamily buildings of a certain size, not all the small ones, but the larger ones could be addressed by the tool in the future. Okay, there is one more question. So how do you deal with the different bank rates in the loan section? So the financial module allows the user to enter the financial rate, so the interest rate applied in the certain loan or energy performance contract scheme. So this is one of the user inputs. So the auditor must be aware of market conditions in the country where he's applying the tool and enter an appropriate tax rate before doing the financial simulations. Okay, there is a question for Maria Frangu, but it's about the energy performance certificate of buildings. It's about the concrete case of Greece. So the question is again, is this tool compatible with the Greek regulations on the certificates on energy performance of buildings?
I believe that Patrick answered this question previously. No, it's not compatible. It provides a standardized approach in a European context.
Thank you, Maria. So I think now we have reached the end of the time we scheduled. We would like to thank all of the attendees for participating and for asking all their questions. We will review all the questions to make sure we have covered everything. There are some more, and we will send you in a few days a summary of the questions with some answers and with some further clarification, and also with the material that was distributed and shown during the webinar. We will also record this webinar and post it online on YouTube or a similar service, so you can also hear it back with the proper audio at a later time. Thanks again for assisting, and hopefully we will see you again in the next webinar in a couple of months. Goodbye.